AI hiring systems are silently filtering out millions of qualified candidates before a human ever lays eyes on their application. And the worst part? You'll never know it happened. In this educational video, we expose the disturbing truth behind modern hiring, how AI-powered Applicant Tracking Systems, ATS, are reshaping the job market, profiling your personality, and flagging your resume based on invisible criteria. From formatting traps to psychological tone analysis, we'll show you how these systems work and how they can work against you. Chapter 1: The Invisible Gatekeeper. You probably think your resume is being read by a human. It's not. In fact, there's a very real chance that no one at that company even knows you applied. Because before your resume ever reaches a recruiter's desk, it has to pass through something far more ruthless, an AI-powered applicant tracking system. These systems don't blink. They don't get tired. And they don't care how hard you worked on your resume. They're trained to scan, score, and sort thousands of applications in seconds. And if your resume doesn't match their hidden criteria, you're out. Silently. Instantly. Without a trace. Let's pause here. Have you ever applied for a job you were perfectly qualified for and heard nothing back? No rejection. No feedback. Just silence? That's not bad luck. That's the invisible gatekeeper doing its job. And here's the disturbing part. These systems are getting smarter. They're not just looking for keywords anymore. They're analyzing sentence structure, tone, even the emotional weight of your language. They're trained on massive datasets, millions of job resumes, thousands of hiring decisions, and they've learned to mimic human judgment, but without human empathy. Let's break this down. Most large companies now use software like Workday, Taleo, or Greenhouse. These platforms are designed to help recruiters manage the flood of applications they receive. But in doing so, they've created a digital moat, one that filters out up to 75% of resumes before a human ever sees them. And the criteria? It's not always logical. For example, did you know that using a PDF instead of a Word doc can sometimes break the parsing algorithm? Or that using tables or columns can scramble your formatting beyond recognition? Even the font you choose can affect how your resume is read or misread. But it gets darker. Some systems now use AI to assign a fit score to your resume. This score is based on how closely your experience matches the job description, but also on how your resume compares to others in the system. If your language is too passive, if your job titles don't match industry norms, or if your employment gaps aren't explained just right, your score drops. And here's the kicker: you'll never know. You won't get a report. You won't get feedback. You'll just disappear into the digital void. This is what we call the black box problem. The AI makes a decision, but no one, not even the recruiter, can fully explain why. And that's terrifying. Because it means your career could be derailed by an algorithm you've never seen, using criteria you don't understand, based on data you didn't consent to share. Let's take a real-world example. In 2018, Amazon scrapped an internal AI recruiting tool after discovering it was biased against women. The system had been trained on resumes submitted over a 10-year period, most of which came from men. As a result, the AI learned to penalize resumes that included the word women's, as in women's chess club captain. That's not just a glitch. That's systemic bias, baked into the algorithm. And it's still happening. Today's applicant tracking systems are trained on historical hiring data, which means they inherit all the biases of the past. If a company has historically favored certain schools, certain job titles, or certain demographics, the AI will learn to do the same. And you'll never know why you didn't make the cut. So, what can you do? That's what we'll explore in the next chapters. But for now, understand this. The hiring process is no longer human first. It's AI first. And if you want to survive, if you want to thrive, you need to learn how to speak the language of the machine. Because the invisible gatekeeper isn't going away. It's evolving. And it's watching. Chapter 2: The Resume Blacklist Algorithm. Let's talk about the algorithm. Not the kind you can see. Not the kind you can tweak. I'm talking about the one that decides, quietly, invisibly, whether your resume passes or fails. This is the resume blacklist algorithm. And it's not just filtering, it's judging. You see, most people think AI hiring tools are just looking for keywords. That if you copy-paste the job description into your resume, you'll trick the system. But that's not how it works anymore. Modern applicant tracking system platforms use machine learning models trained on thousands, sometimes millions, of past hiring decisions. They don't just look for what's there. They look for what's missing. They look for patterns. And they make assumptions. Let's say you're applying for a marketing role. You've got experience, you've got results, you've even got a portfolio. But your resume doesn't include the phrase campaign optimization. The AI flags it. Not because you're unqualified, but because the model has learned that successful candidates usually include that phrase. Now imagine that happening across 20 different terms. Suddenly, your resume looks less relevant. Your score drops. You're pushed to the bottom of the pile, or worse, filtered out entirely. And here's where it gets darker. Some systems don't just score your resume. They compare it to others. If your formatting is inconsistent, if your job titles don't match industry standards, if your bullet points are too long or too short, you're penalized. It's not just about what you say. It's about how you say it. And the algorithm? It doesn't care about your story. It doesn't care that you took a year off to care for a sick parent. It doesn't care that you switched industries during a recession. It sees a gap. It sees a deviation. And it flags you. This is how the blacklist is built. Not with malice, but with math. Let's go deeper. Some platforms now use natural language processing, NLP, to analyze tone and sentiment. If your resume sounds too passive, too vague, or too emotional, it can be interpreted as a lack of confidence or clarity. Phrases like helped with or assisted in are seen as weak. Stronger phrases like led, executed, or delivered are rewarded. But here's the twist. If you overdo it, if your resume sounds too aggressive or self-promotional, it can backfire. The algorithm might flag it as inflated or inauthentic. It's a psychological tightrope, and most people don't even know they're walking it. Now, let's talk about formatting. You might think a visually stunning resume will help you stand out, but to an applicant tracking system, fancy design is a nightmare. Columns, graphics, icons, even certain fonts can confuse the parser. If the system can't read your resume correctly, it can't score it correctly. And if it can't score it, it discards it. This is why so many qualified candidates are ghosted. Not because they're unqualified, but because their resumes were unreadable to the machine. Let's pause for a moment. How many times have you been told to stand out with your resume? To be creative? To show your personality? Now you're being told to strip it all away, to write for a machine. It feels wrong, doesn't it? But here's the truth. You're not writing for a human anymore. You're writing for the algorithm that decides whether a human ever sees your name. And that algorithm? It's not neutral. It's trained on biased data. It reflects the preferences, prejudices, and blind spots of the companies that built it. If those companies have historically favored certain schools, certain job titles, or certain demographics, the algorithm learns to do the same. This is how systemic bias becomes automated. And it's why the resume blacklist is so dangerous. Because once you're flagged, once your resume is marked as low fit, you're not just ignored. You're remembered. Some systems track applicant history. If you apply multiple times and get rejected, your profile can be tagged. Future applications may be deprioritized automatically. You become a known no, and you'll never know why. So, what can you do? That's what we'll explore in the next chapter. But for now, understand this. The resume blacklist isn't a myth. It's a machine. And it's already scanning your story. The question is, are you ready to rewrite it? Chapter 3. Psychological Warfare. How AI Reads You. Let's get personal. Because the AI reading your resume, it's not just scanning for skills. It's profiling you. Yes, profiling. Modern hiring algorithms don't just look at what you've done. They try to infer who you are. And they do it using something called sentiment analysis, a branch of natural language processing that evaluates the emotional tone of your writing. Sounds futuristic? It's already here. These systems are trained to detect confidence, clarity, leadership, even emotional stability based solely on how you write. Not what you say, how you say it. Let that sink in. Your resume isn't just a list of accomplishments anymore. It's a psychological fingerprint. And if the AI doesn't like what it sees, you're out. Let's break this down. Say you write, assisted with project coordination and supported team communication. Now compare that to, led cross-functional coordination and streamlined team communication. Same job, same outcome, but the second version sounds more assertive, more confident, more leader-like. To a human, that's a style choice. To an AI, that's a signal. And here's where it gets twisted. These systems are trained on past hiring data. If companies have historically favored confident, assertive language, especially from certain demographics, the AI learns to associate that tone with success. So if your writing style is more modest, more collaborative, more nuanced, you might be penalized. Not because you're less qualified, but because you don't sound like the people who got hired before you. This is how bias becomes code. And it doesn't stop there. Some systems now use behavioral inference models, algorithms that try to predict your personality traits based on your word choices. They map your language to the big 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Yes, really. They try to guess whether you're a team player, whether you're a risk taker, whether you're emotionally stable, and they do it based on a few hundred words. Now ask yourself, have you ever written a resume while stressed? Have you ever downplayed your achievements to avoid sounding arrogant? Have you ever used softer language because that's just your communication style? The AI doesn't know that. It doesn't know your context. It doesn't know your culture. It doesn't know your story. It just sees patterns. And if your patterns don't match the ideal candidate profile, you're flagged. This is psychological warfare. And you're not even aware you're in the battle. Let's go deeper. Some companies now use AI video screening tools, platforms that analyze your facial expressions, vocal tone, and micro-expressions during pre-recorded interviews. They claim to detect enthusiasm, honesty, and cultural fit. But studies have shown these tools can be wildly inaccurate, especially across different ethnicities, accents, and neurodiverse communication styles. In one case, a candidate was flagged as low energy because they didn't smile enough during a video interview. The reason? They were recovering from a dental procedure. The AI didn't care. It saw a deviation. It made a judgment. And the candidate never got a callback. This is the dark side of automation. It's not just about efficiency. It's about control. These systems are designed to reduce human error, but in doing so, they often amplify human bias. They turn subjective impressions into objective scores. And they do it without transparency, without accountability, and without your consent. So, what can you do? First, understand the game. You're not just writing a resume. You're crafting a psychological profile. That doesn't mean you should lie, but it does mean you need to be intentional. Use active, confident language. Mirror the tone of the job description. Avoid vague phrases like responsible for or helped with. Be specific. Be bold. Be strategic. And most importantly, don't let the machine define your worth. Because the AI doesn't know your story. But you do. Chapter 4, Case Studies from the Blacklist. Let's move from theory to reality. Because this isn't just about algorithms and abstract systems. It's about real people, qualified, capable professionals who've been silently filtered out, flagged, and forgotten. Let's start with case study number 1, the overqualified ghost. Meet Daniel, mid-40s, MBA, 2 decades of experience in operations and logistics. After a corporate restructuring, he found himself back on the job market. He applied to over 80 roles he was clearly qualified for. And yet, silence. No interviews. No callbacks. Nothing. He finally reached out to a recruiter he knew personally. She looked into it, and what she found was chilling. The system had flagged his resume as overqualified, not because of anything he said, but because of what the system inferred. His job titles were too senior. His years of experience too high. The algorithm assumed he wouldn't accept the salary range, so it filtered him out. Automatically, without warning. Daniel wasn't rejected. He was erased. Now let's talk about case study number 2, the formatting fail. Sasha was a graphic designer. Naturally, she wanted her resume to reflect her creativity. She used a beautifully designed template, columns, icons, color blocks, even a custom font. It looked amazing to a human, but to the ATS, it was a disaster. The system couldn't parse the layout. It scrambled her job titles, misread her dates, and dropped entire sections of her experience. Her resume was scored as incomplete. She never made it past the first filter. She only found out after a friend in HR ran her resume through the same system. The result? A blank page. Now imagine how many other creatives are being filtered out, not for lack of talent, but for using the very skills they're being hired for. Let's go deeper. Case study number 3, the language trap. Ahmed was an international applicant, fluent in English, but his resume reflected his native linguistic style, more formal, more modest, less self-promotional. He applied to dozens of roles in the US market. No bites. Eventually, he rewrote his resume using more assertive, Americanized phrasing. Suddenly, interviews started rolling in. Same experience, same skills, different tone. The AI had been interpreting his original language as low confidence. It wasn't. It was cultural. But the algorithm didn't know that. It just saw a deviation from the norm and penalized him for it. Now let's talk about something even more disturbing. Case study number 4, the invisible flag. Maria had applied to a company 3 years ago. She didn't get the job. No big deal. But when she applied again recently, she noticed something strange. She was rejected within minutes. Every time. She reached out to someone on the inside. They checked her applicant profile. And there it was, a hidden tag. Not a fit. No explanation. No appeal. Just a digital scarlet letter. The system had remembered her and decided she wasn't worth reconsidering. This is the dark side of data retention. Because some ATS platforms don't just track your current application. They track your history, your rejections, your scores, even your behavior, how long you spent on the application page, whether you followed up, whether you opened the interview invite. And they use that data to make future decisions. Automatically, permanently. Let's pause. How many people are walking around with invisible flags on their profiles? How many careers are being quietly derailed by past applications they don't even remember? This isn't just inefficient. It's unjust. And it's happening every day. But here's the good news. Some people are fighting back. Case study number 5, the prompt engineer. Jasmine was a tech-savvy job seeker. She realized early on that AI was reading her resume, so she decided to write for the AI. She used ChatGPT to analyze job descriptions and generate optimized bullet points. She ran her resume through applicant tracking system simulators to test formatting. She even used AI to draft personalized cover letters that mirrored the company's tone. The result? A 60% increase in interview callbacks. She wasn't gaming the system. She was understanding it. And that made all the difference. Because once you know how the algorithm thinks, you can start to speak its language without losing your own voice. That's what we'll explore next. Chapter 5, How to Optimize Your Resume for Pre-Screening and Filtering by AI HR Bots. Now that you've seen how the system works and how it can work against you, it's time to take back control. Because while AI hiring tools may feel like black boxes, they're not invincible. In fact, once you understand how they think, you can write your resume in a way that speaks their language without losing your own voice. Let's start with the basics. 1. Use a clean, simple format. Forget fancy templates. No columns. No graphics. No icons. No text boxes. These elements confuse parsing software and can cause your resume to be misread or not read at all. Stick to a single column layout. Use standard fonts like Arial, Calibri, or Times New Roman. Save your file as a.docs or .pdf only if you're sure the system can handle it. When in doubt, .docs is safer. Think of your resume as a data file, not a design project. 2. Mirror the job description. This is where psychology meets strategy. AI systems are trained to match resumes to job descriptions. That means your resume should reflect the language of the posting exactly. If the job description says Project Lifecycle Management, don't say oversaw projects from start to finish. Say Project Lifecycle Management. This isn't about keyword stuffing. It's about alignment. Use tools like JobsCan or ChatGPT to compare your resume to the job description. Identify missing keywords. Add them naturally. You're not gaming the system. You're speaking its dialect. 3. Use strong, active language. Remember Chapter 3? AI systems analyze tone and sentiment. That means your word choices matter. Avoid weak verbs like helped, assisted, or worked on. Instead, use action verbs led, executed, developed, streamlined. Be specific. Quantify your impact. Instead of managed a team, say led a team of 6 to deliver a $1.2 million project 3 weeks ahead of schedule. This isn't bragging. It's clarity. 4. Include a skills section. Many applicant tracking system platforms scan for a dedicated skills section. This is your chance to list hard skills, certifications, and tools, using the exact phrasing from the job description. Don't just say communication. Say cross-functional communication if that's what the job asks for. And don't forget technical tools: Excel, Salesforce, Python, Tableau, whatever's relevant. This section is your keyword goldmine. 5. Explain employment gaps briefly. AI systems flag unexplained gaps. If you took time off, include a one-line explanation. Sabbatical for family care, 2022 to 2023. Career transition and upskilling, 2021 to 2022. Keep it short. Keep it honest. But don't leave it blank. 6. Avoid resume killers. Here are a few things that can get your resume flagged or discarded. Tables and columns, confused parsing software. Uncommon fonts, may not render correctly. Images or logos, can't be read by applicant tracking systems. Headers and footers, often ignored by parsers. Acronyms without explanation, always spell out the first instance, e.g., Customer Relationship Management, CRM. 7. Use AI to your advantage. You're not alone in this. Use tools like ChatGPT to rewrite bullet points, tailor resumes, or generate cover letters. ResumeWorded to score your resume and suggest improvements. JobsCan to compare your resume to job descriptions. TealHQ to track applications and optimize content. Resi to generate applicant tracking system, friendly resumes automatically. These tools don't replace your judgment. They enhance it. 8. Test before you submit. Use a free applicant tracking system simulator like ResumeWorded or SkillSyncer to test how your resume performs. These tools show you what the AI sees and what it doesn't. If your resume isn't scoring well, revise it. Don't guess. Test. 9. Keep a human version too. Once you pass the AI filter, a human will eventually read your resume. So make sure it's still readable, engaging, and authentic. You're writing for two audiences, the machine and the mind. Balance both. 10. Stay updated. AI hiring tools are evolving. What works today might not work next year. Stay informed. Follow hiring experts. Read blogs. Watch videos. Keep learning. Because the job market isn't just competitive, it's algorithmic. And the more you understand the system, the more power you have to navigate it. You've made it through the dark maze of AI hiring. You've seen the invisible gatekeepers, the psychological profiling, the silent blacklists. But now, you're equipped. You know how to write for the machine without losing your humanity. And that's the real secret. Because in a world of automation, the most powerful thing you can be is unmistakably human. Subscribe to our channel SuitsVsAI for more content on job search and career advancement.